Hi, this is Liz, and welcome to my podcast, Spiritually Speaking with Liz. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by Nicky, aka the Van Mystic. Nicky is an intuitive tarot reader and the creator of the Star Seeker Tarot deck. She shares daily readings on TikTok and Instagram, which is where I found her, and is currently working on a new Oracle deck due to launch in April this year, which is exciting. We'll come back to that. But Nicky, hi, and thanks for joining me.
Hi, Liz. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. So I've been following you for about 4 or 5 years now, and you
Wow.
always stood out. Yeah, you always stood out to me. I think you always your vibe attracts your tribe, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
seeing that progression over the years, I think is amazing. So when I started following you, you had just finished your little tour, which I'll come back to because I love the story.
Yes.
And you were doing three card. What you do is you take these beautiful photos. That's what drew me in. I love the
hmm
photos with
hmm
crystals, flowers of three cards in the morning, and then in the afternoon you'd say pick a card, and then in the
Yeah.
afternoon you'd give a description of what the card was, which
Yeah.
has evolved now a lot more
Yeah.
deeper. I think I
Right.
with your readings, I never look at the daily one. I just let them pop up on my feed,
Yeah.
and they are, oh, it's like you're talking to me. My friend thinks it's hilarious because, oh my
I
God.
love that.
Yeah, it is. It is so, I'm just like, is this woman inside my head? It just really always never ceases to amaze me.
It's amazing how it works.
It really is. It truly is. I'd like to go back to the beginning.
Mhm.
So I joined you just after you'd made major life change, and
Yeah.
basically you followed your bliss. So would you like to tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So, my background is in fashion design. So I was working sort of in the corporate world as a handbag and footwear designer for several years. And I was kind of doing this stuff on the side, doing tarot, learning about herbal medicine, being a part of women's groups, spirituality. And it was always something I was interested in, but I never really thought it was something that I could do with my life. I just hadn't really considered it. In 2016, I had the opportunity to relocate from New York to California for a job doing handbag design for a wonderful company. And so I picked up everything and I moved. I left a lot of personal things behind um, that also was keeping me in a really stuck place. So I think that was really a catalyst in a lot of ways for freeing up my energy,
Mhm.
and just generating so much change in my life. So I remained at this job for a year and I met my now husband while I was in San Francisco at a meditation group, and we started kind of sharing our dreams together, about what we want our life to look like, and the changes that we might want to make. And so we decided to buy a pretty beat up crappy VW van and fix it up. He did most of the fixing up, and travel around the country living in it for a while.
That must have been fantastic. Just
It was
waking
so
up.
fun.
Yeah. And a real thing of personal growth, I would imagine, because just being
Yeah.
that freedom of being out on the road,
Yeah.
where do we go? No plans, the things
Oh,
it would have brought
totally.
up. Yeah.
It was such a different experience from anything that I had previously had before, because I think up until that point, I was really living life in a way where, I was doing all the things that I thought I had to do and the things that I should do. And I don't know that I ever really developed this strong sense of self in a way where, I was trusting my gut and I was really listening to myself and I was taking risks, and letting it be okay to try stuff and maybe fail and do things outside of the box. So it was a huge leap of faith, for me, and a really big lesson in trusting myself and experiencing freedom in a way that I hadn't really experienced before. So yeah, just that I remember that first week being in the van, just feeling like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? But just the most kind of elated, free feeling, and getting to visit so many cool places, waking up somewhere new all the time, like having that experience that you don't really get a lot.
No,
You know, as you get older and you experience more and more, like those new experiences, those windows become smaller and smaller. So getting to have that, um, there's a lot of magic in that, I think.
absolutely. And it's the true fool's journey, isn't it? Just that
Totally.
stepping off the cliff, trusting all your goodies that you need in your backpack, in your little
Yeah.
knapsack, and away you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And that must have been very freeing intuitively for you as well.
I'd say so, absolutely. Because also, for the first time, I didn't have this traditional job, and I was able to really think about what I wanted to do. And actually, at first, I wasn't even really sure. I wasn't sure at all, and I was trying to force something to happen. I kind of remember being like, I need to figure something out. I need to figure something out, because I was still really caught up in that mentality of like, I need to be doing, I need to be producing, I need to be working in order to be worthy or to have value or whatever. And I was trying to come up with all these ideas. I could feel like none of them really sparked, any passion in me. Um, and I remember eventually I just kind of let go, and I was like, okay, I don't think this is coming to me right now. And that's when I started my page and I started my Instagram account, and I just did it for fun and I just did it for me, and took off from there. So,
I think things that truly come from the heart, when somebody's following their bliss, it just happens, doesn't it? People think, oh, they're so
yeah,
lucky. They don't see the
yeah,
trials and tribulations that go alongside it, but just
yeah,
having that, just knowing how you want to feel every day,
yeah,
doing what you love every day,
yeah,
it's a true blessing. I think
yeah,
that many people feel stuck on that hamster wheel, really, just that going round and round and round, Groundhog Day, having to bringing money, to live this life. That do they really need all these fancy cars or this debt of the fancy clothes, the fancy jewelry, or whatever, when you can
mm-hmm,
really live a simple life
mm-hmm.
doing what you love to do?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think simplicity is like one of the biggest lessons that I've taken in, like throughout all of this, is just simplifying and the joy and in just the simple things.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
Yeah,
totally agree with that. I think people
yeah,
make their lives too complicated.
completely agree.
So, how did you get into tarot? When did you start learning it? When were you drawn to it?
I received my first tarot deck when I was a kid. I was probably around 9 years old. My grandmother was a tarot reader,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, and she gifted me my first deck, the Robin Wood Tarot,
Oh,
and I still have it. And I still love it. And she tried to teach me a little bit, but I think she got a little frustrated with me. It was not an easy, it was not an easy thing that I just picked up. And she, anyway, we had our own thing going on, but I was a kid, so I carried them around with me throughout my life. I brought them with me everywhere. I brought them to college, and I always kind of looked at them. I played with them, but they remained very mysterious to me for a long time. I looked in the guidebook, I tried to understand them. And I think it wasn't until probably college that I decided I really wanted to start learning more about the deeper meaning behind it and how to use them and how to bring my intuition into play
mhm.
and help myself and guide myself through them. When I graduated college, I joined an herbal medicine apprenticeship. I think I mentioned that, but with this wonderful wise woman, Robin Rose Bennett. And it was a 3-year program, and there were um, 13, 12 other women. And they all had these wonderful interests, things that I was interested in, right? Herbal medicine, but also Reiki healing and tarot and all of this magical, wonderful stuff. And so it was really this it was bigger than just herbal medicine. It was learning about magic and all of this wisdom from these women, a lot of them older than me. And so that's when it really started to take off for me, this interest. And my learning started to become deeper then.
Yeah, and but having that group of women around you, and I think that base knowledge, I not on as big a scale, but I had a group of people around me, and their wisdom, because everybody has their own skill set anyway, but their wisdom, it stays with you, doesn't it? That from that early learning, it's like that apprenticeship almost,
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
it stays with you. And even though you may not have gone on to be a Reiki master, you will have the understanding of Reiki. You have
Hmm.
the understanding of the herbs, and bringing all that together, and it accumulates in who you are today and where you've got to today, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it all sticks with you in a way, and I think it's all connected in a way too.
Mm.
And I think one of the most impactful things for me just at that time was I didn't really have a lot of knowledge about these practices in general because aside from my grandmother, I didn't really grow up in the environment that where we had things like tarot and Reiki and healing and even conventional religion, you know? So it was all very new to me. And I think as a child, I was very intuitive and very sensitive. I had a very kind of wild imagination. But I thought that was just the way I was. And I thought it was just my world and my thing. And that was it. And so when I was introduced to this group and I started taking these classes and things like that on my own, it was like this whole world was opening up to me. Like this door was just opening and I was like, "What? Magic was real?" Cuz like I thought this was just in my head. But apparently there's a whole world out there of people that are living on the same level as me. So that was so exciting and expansive for me. And it just opened up so many more options for me that I had never considered.
It's very liberating, isn't it?
Yeah.
That knowing that all that's been going on in your head, that you're not going crazy, that
Yeah,
this is a part we just didn't know how to express it.
right. Absolutely. And that there are people that I can talk to about this and will know exactly what I'm talking about, and people that I can learn from and develop some of these, natural gifts or whatever that I have. Like that was all very new to me and very exciting at the time. And that had a big impact on me. So, yeah.
Everything comes as it's supposed to, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
right the right people at the right time. So
Yeah.
shifting along a little bit, you've created your own tarot, which is now what
Mhm.
people read from.
Yeah.
And I think personally, because it's your tarot and you connect with it more, your readings to me have become a lot deeper.
Oh, thank you.
They've become stronger.
Thank you.
What drew you to doing your own deck? Did you always know from from starting the group that yeah, do you know, I think I might create my own? How did it come to you?
That was never my plan. Honestly, I really didn't even think it was within the realm of possibility for me. And I don't know why. I just had a limitation around it. I don't have the resources. I don't have the skills. I don't have. But again, we had finished our kind of tour in the van and we decided to settle in Taos, New Mexico. And actually a friend of mine was like, "Hey, you have a design background. Like, when are you going to make your own deck?" And I was like, "Don't be crazy. I'm not I'm not doing that. Like that's not on my radar." And I guess just in the same way that I started my page, I decided, well, I guess I could do my own deck, but I'm just going to do it for me. I'm just going to create this artwork and see what comes through. I'm going to enjoy it, no pressure. And the more I started working on it, the more I started to feel like this is something that I could do. This is something I could offer to the world. So it actually was never in my plan consciously, but came out the way it was meant to, I guess.
And it's quite a thing to take on, to put your own interpretation on
Hmm.
78 cards, on
Yeah.
78 cards that have been around for hundreds of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
Well,
think,
when you put it that way, it feels like a lot of pressure.
no, but then I think that's probably what's made it more personalized.
Yeah.
The fact that you've
Mm.
put your interpretation of what the King of Swords, for example, looks like,
Yeah.
the Fool
Yeah.
looks like, and
Definitely.
then it changes, because when you look at the original Rider-Waite deck, which they're all based on, aren't they? And
Mm.
it's a great deck, but it's
Yeah.
quite even though it's color, this is going to sound double Dutch, but it is quite, it's quite black and white, it's quite rigid,
Yeah.
there's no life to it. I don't think it doesn't, it's
Yeah.
just pictures to me. It's never, but then when somebody puts the magic of their intuition on it, and then they start bringing in, oh, well, actually, this means this, and pulling in
Hmm.
these little wisps of ideas and sort of weaving this new card, then
Hmm.
it takes on a whole new life. So that, I mean, don't get me wrong, the Rider-Waite has a perfect founding in tarot, obviously, but I think
Yes.
it's great that people have added on to that. And it, even though the Rider-Waite deck is timeless, it still can feel, to me, I don't know, see what you think, it can seem a
Hmm.
bit archaic almost, a bit
Hmm.
sort of stiff and starchy.
I think, like you said, it's a timeless deck. It's the foundation for most decks that are created today,
Mm,
including mine. But yeah, I have met so many people, including myself, who, when they started reading tarot, tried to read with this deck and they just couldn't. And so I think it limits a lot of people because
mm,
in some ways it can feel hard to connect to. It can feel outdated. It can feel, all these things that put up barriers for people who want to learn but they just can't connect with this. So all of these new decks that are coming out that are maybe a little more modern, a little easier to relate to or to connect to, it just offers so many more choices for people that want to learn but haven't really been able to connect to it previously. So to me that's a beautiful thing because it means more people using this tool, more people connecting with their intuition, and the more people using tarot the better, I think.
yeah, definitely. And
Yeah.
people's energy
Yeah.
is attracted to different card decks. What
Absolutely.
sings to one person, another person might think, oh no, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And again, that's the
So
beauty of
true.
it, because we're all
Yeah.
so unique, we're all different, so we're
Yes.
all drawn to different things.
Yes. And that's something I really loved about creating a deck and even just having this Instagram page and sharing readings is that I get to connect with all these people that relate specifically to me, to my energy, to my work. And it's almost like we're all kind of on the same plane, we're all on the same
Yeah,
wavelength, right?
yeah,
And so that's been such a beautiful thing to be able to connect with people in that way.
it is. And it's the perfect example of when people say that other than physically being with somebody, you can't feel energy, you can't. But this is the fabulous thing with Instagram, social media, or anything like Zoom meetings, that we can, there
Yeah,
is, it's energy,
it is. Yeah.
reaches everywhere.
No boundaries.
Yeah. And I think
Mhm.
that during the pandemic, I think that became more apparent
Yeah.
to the general public, shall we call it, where people could Zoom and do a Zumba
Yeah.
class, and they realized,
Right.
yeah, that you didn't physically always have to be there, that
Right.
there is another way around things. So
Yeah, to have real connection.
mm. So I think for us, it was sort of like a step for people to think, oh right, actually, yeah, I can see what they mean now with that.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, very true.
So you're doing a new deck, but an oracle deck this
Right.
time. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so in a way, it's kind of a companion deck to the Starseeker Tarot, meaning the artwork is in a similar style because that's my style. But the way that I'm trying to format it, and it's not really doing what I'm trying to make it do because that's just what happens. Nothing goes as planned. I'm trying to structure things, but I think by nature I'm not a structured person. So it's very loose. Essentially, when I was working on my tarot deck, as I was working through each card, I was genuinely experiencing the energy of each card. So when I was working on the Fool, I had just moved to New Mexico. I was on a new journey. I was, wearing the energy of the divine child. I was in trust. When I was drawing the tower, I was having a tower moment. When I was, it was a very much a kind of intertwined experience for me with this deck, which I think has made the energy of it that much more potent. And so with the Oracle deck, a lot of times what happens is that I have a plan, I have a structure, I have these themes that I want to touch on, but a certain energy decides to come through me, and that's what I end up working on, right? And so that's sort of how the process has been so far. Um, and I'm trying to keep it to 55 cards, and there will be like a set of cards that represent different themes. It doesn't follow the structure of tarot like some oracle decks do. It'll be more things like sadness, happiness. I'm not using those words, but just to give an idea,
Yeah.
different life experiences, right? Sort of like the minor arcana. And then I'll have a set of guides. So, like the protector, the warrior, the healer. And then there will be a set of gifts in the deck, which are a bit like the aces in tarot in a way. And it will be like the seed and the key. So, these are things that are coming from external or the querent or whoever's doing the reading. But I'm pretty excited about it. It's a very, the way that I work creatively, it can be very up and down. I work in these sort of ways where I get really inspired, I move really fast, and then I need a long period of rest. So we'll see. I'm planning for April.
It'll happen when it happens, won't it?
Exactly.
There is no pressure, but I think that will work well then with the tarot, like you say, for being able to do. Okay, let's go a little bit deeper on that, and then see
Yeah.
if anything comes up with the
Yeah.
emotion, with the guide, with the gift.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I'm hoping that people can use it with the deck, like you said, just to create more depth. And then also, I know that a lot of people are still and continue to be intimidated by tarot, right? And it can be a difficult system to learn, like regardless of what deck you're using. And so I hope that people feel like maybe the Oracle deck in some cases is easier,
mhm.
just to be able to use it and relate to it and not feel like it's so structured. Because I think people think of tarot and they think, but it's so structured and I don't understand and it's too hard. Um, so I hope this can reach even more people in that way.
I'm sure it will, but in both ways, as a
Yeah.
standalone or as the companion. As
Hmm.
a quick something I do every year,
Yeah.
which came from you, is the 9 card spread that you do for the new year.
Yeah.
I
Great.
love that because it sets up my theme for the new year, what I want to take, what I want to leave behind,
Wonderful.
that kind of thing. So,
Hmm.
for somebody listening who's got their own deck, who's interested, can you give some examples of maybe like a weekly spread or how they might ask a question?
Yeah. Absolutely. So a really great way to start reading if you're a beginner is to do 3 card spreads. If you want to learn about spreads, 3 cards is a great place to start. So one thing that I like to do, say as a daily spread or a weekly spread, is energy, advice, and outcome. So you're looking at the energy of your day or of your week. That would be 1 card. The advice would be how you can best flow with and work with that energy that you're getting, right? And the outcome is really the most likely outcome because I always say like things are rarely set in stone, right? This is based on the energy that you have and whether or not you're going to take the advice. So if you take this advice, this is your most likely outcome. And what I love about that is, like I said, things are rarely set in stone. I don't like to look at tarot as something that's meant to lock you in. I like to look at it as something that's giving you an opportunity, right? you get to see, okay, this is potentially what my day is going to be. Do I like this? Do I want to change this? Okay, my energy is this. Do I want to take the advice? Do I not want to take the advice? Do I like the outcome? What might I want to do differently? So if you look at it that way, it's really an opportunity for change and for more empowerment. So I think that's a really great daily spread. A lot of people also really love the mind, body, spirit spread. So, pull one card for, where is my mind at? How is my mind feeling? Where are my thoughts, right? How's my body feeling? Am I tired? Am I energized? How's my spirit feeling? Or I like to do, what direction does my spirit want to take me in? Because to me, the spirit is really the most trustworthy aspect of the self, right? The higher self.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is the advice that my spirit can give me that can bring me forward in my day in the best possible way? So, that's a really great daily or weekly spread as well.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. It's three different ways to use three-card spreads. So yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
simple.
Yeah, and I think if three cards still feel too intimidating, doing one card is perfectly wonderful, right? Like pulling one card every day. And I think if you're trying to learn to read intuitively too, an exercise that people love to do is pull one card, look at it, observe it. In so many ways, tarot can be about observation, right? And about personal connection and symbolism. So not being, in your head about what did the book say? I'm trying to remember what did I memorize, but what am I observing here? How does this make me feel? Writing those things down, right? So one card a day, putting it on your altar, putting it on your table, making notes in the morning, throughout the day. And then if you want to compare it to the book and see where, you have some crossover and where you don't, then that can be really helpful too, just for like long-term memorization if that's your goal.
Yeah, it's a really good way of learning them, isn't it? Then you get your own
Yeah.
interpretation of them rather than just the staid way of the black and white. And it's not a black and white
Yeah.
thing because it's so intuitive. So that's a really nice way
Yeah.
of doing it.
Yeah. I absolutely believe that it's intuitive. I don't think that's
100%.
the only way to read, but that's what I advocate for.
No, I agree with that. When I started with tarot, I honestly I used them as a backup in case there was nothing there. So then it was a
Yeah.
focal point. But
I love that.
they do create a life of their own. They become
Yeah.
so like when you do the Celtic cross, it
Hmm.
becomes the cards that you put down, they come to life, don't they? It becomes a picture. The whole thing
Yeah.
becomes a picture. And then you see, oh right, okay, this. And then
Yeah.
yeah, it'll
Absolutely. And it's wonderful as you get into bigger spreads like that, where you have a real deep understanding of each of the cards and you can start to make connections between each of the cards and you can start to paint the picture, as you said, and see the whole story and get this really rich message from that. So
it is. I have a shop and it's a like a mind body spirit shop and I sell oracle
awesome.
and tarot decks. And when people say, what's the difference? So
Yeah.
I always say with tarot, it'll tell you. So
Yeah.
there's no,
Yeah. Straight.
yeah,
So
that's
true.
straight down the line. Yeah. Where
Yeah.
oracle cards are a bit more fluffy and they can be really nice, don't get me wrong, but they're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tarot, it's straight down the line. What do you want to know? Here you go. Here's your answer. Might not
Yeah.
be what you want to hear, but it'll
But
be the
but you're
truth.
gonna get the truth.
Yeah.
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 100%.
That is so true.
So on the lines of self-care, I'm
Yeah.
always I think this is such an important part and I mention it with everybody
Yeah.
because people unfortunately see self-care as selfish and it is not. It's for me, if I don't have the self-care, then my day just doesn't go as
Same.
smoothly as it could. And yeah, so what do you do on a regular basis for self-care?
Yeah, sure. So, I, like you, see self-care as completely an essential thing. I do, I have a yoga practice. I do yoga probably 3 or 4 times a week. I either go out to a class or I do yoga at home or just do some sort of simple stretching, something like that. I have a lot of elaborate rituals around body and skincare. I think one of the um, one of my focal points over the last few years has just been really enjoying the experience in my body and on this human plane in this life. And I think it's so important to honor the body, especially as a spiritual person or somebody who spends a lot of time outside of their body, connecting with other people's energy, on other planes, in their dreams, in their imagination, to come back to the body. And so I really take a lot of time with cooking, with eating well, with dry brushing and gua sha, and just things that bring me back into my body, make me feel grounded, bring a sense of gratitude to my day and to myself. So, eating well, self care with the body, movement, practice. I do so much for self care, to be honest. I feel like so much of my day is self care. I
Well,
have
do
a
you know,
journaling practice.
now you've said it, I think naively, I think when I ask somebody about self-care,
Yeah.
I think like my non-negotiable self-care is my meditation on the morning, and I've been
Hmm.
doing cacao every morning since last summer. And
Hmm.
so that's my little bit of yoga. But now you've said it, absolutely, it is about how, for me, eating, if I don't eat well, I don't feel well.
Yeah.
It affects your energy. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I guess it's like how, like, in a way, I can look at so many things as self care that I do throughout the day, right? Like just eating regularly, eating well, nourishing my body, having my journal practice, having my yoga practice. But I think it helps you to show up as a better person in the world, to be a better friend, to be more present with people,
Yeah.
to have deeper connections and relationships, and be able to give more to your work, to give more to the world, to your, to everything. So to me, it's so essential, because if you are just, and I have been somebody who's just run on empty and given everything I had and was completely burnt out and depleted and always in the role of caretaker, And at some point, I just had to like cut it. I had to cut it all off. And that's pretty extreme, and I don't want to be in that position again. So I think that was a huge learning for me in life, that self care is not negotiable and it's not a luxury. Um, it is something that's not just for me, but it's for all of my relationships and how I show up,
So
and so that
yeah.
I can be consistent. It's the only way to be a sustainable in this existence.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And being, like you're saying, being in your own body, feeling how your
Yeah,
body feels, because when you're then with other people, how do you know what's yours and what's theirs if you don't? This is my argument always: if you don't know what your own energy feels like.
so true. Yeah, that's so true. That's such a good point.
But I think we've all done it. I was always the rescuer. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was a rescuer for years. I worked as a holistic therapist for years,
Mm-hmm.
and it was always that wanting to fix people. One,
Yes.
and you can't do it, and you can't take that mantle. Somebody either wants to
Yeah.
fix themselves or they don't. You're just a
Yeah.
part of their journey. And
Mhm.
for me, like you, then it just became to that point when I was like, no, I
Yeah.
have to shut off here. And
Yeah.
I didn't have boundaries. And I think
Yeah.
that's a massive part of our lives in a spiritual life, that you have to
Mhm.
have boundaries. So like you with the readings, like me with the shop, people think, oh, it's just a shop, but it draws people in who are in trouble, who need to talk, or in some way. So you have to
Oh,
have
absolutely.
that. You have to have that cut off. So
That's so true.
something that piqued my interest,
Hmm.
as I'm doing it at the moment as well. So when you said journaling practice,
Yeah.
what's your journaling practice?
Yeah. So, I do a lot of work around dreams, like personal work. And so in the morning, I always write down my dreams. I usually remember my dreams, but that's how I usually start with my journaling practice. And then I do some stream of consciousness writing, where I just allow whatever wants to come through, because I can get very stuck in my head throughout the day. I can latch on, just like a lot of people, to certain thoughts, certain points I want to make, certain conflicts, things from the past. And it's like in the back of my mind, I can just be chewing, chewing, chewing on it all day, no matter what's going on. And so I've found that journaling in the morning and just allowing whatever wants to come out is a really healthy way of just getting that out so that it doesn't attach itself to me and kind of drain my energy or leach my energy throughout the day. It's a way I can process things, express things, and then just kind of put it over there and it's done. And it's not, it's not driving me throughout my day anymore, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think it's similar, but yeah, it is,
Yeah.
it's a powerful thing to do. I was always quite, I didn't really understand it for years. I'm not going to lie. When people,
Yeah.
I'd be
Yeah.
reading a self-help book and it'd say journal this, but oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
okay, just come back to
Okay.
this. But when you actually do and get past that
Yeah.
block of just like sitting there, I draw the figure eight. I sit and
Oh, okay.
doodle
Yeah.
because that
Yeah.
when you do this,
Yeah.
then it's balancing the left and right hemispheres of the brain, isn't it? So
Right.
I
Yes.
do that with my pen and I just follow it with my eyes
I
for
love that.
like a
So
minute or so.
meditative.
Yeah, it is. Well, it just exactly, it just calms things down.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, all right, what do you want me to know? Or other
Mm-hmm.
times it's coming out before I
Mm-hmm.
finish.
Would you
And
say you're doing like channeled writing
yes,
sometimes?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting.
I can find that really profound sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's generally, I know when I read it back, yeah, I need to listen to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally. I think it's really wonderful to write prompts for yourself and just kind of get lost in the stream of consciousness and then to look back and see some of your answers. And it's sometimes surprising. Like,
yeah.
oh, okay, that came through. Better listen to that, right? That's really wonderful.
So when you were saying about your dreams and that you write down
Mhm.
your dreams, and they're quite a strong part of your life, did the tarot cards come to you in dreams? The oracle cards that you're creating, are they coming through to you in your dreams?
Many of them came through in either a dream or in some sort of a meditative journey. So definitely, I would say a lot of the imagery that you see in the cards is coming from something like that. Yeah.
Well, and that creates the power to them, I think.
I think so too. Yeah.
So for somebody who's just starting out with tarot,
Mhm.
they're wanting to learn more about it, they may be wanting to go a little bit further. What would be your top, say, 5 tips for somebody just starting out?
I would say don't hesitate to work with a mentor or a teacher. I think it can be really valuable to get some one-on-one or group experience with somebody who has a lot of wisdom and experience to offer. And I think it kind of forces you to practice when you have a teacher set up, giving you assignments and sitting with you and walking through stuff with you. So that would be one. Number two is just practice. You have to practice. It's not something that's going to come overnight. So you really have to have a bit of discipline and commitment if you want to be able to develop your skills around your tarot practice. Number three is I would say take some pressure off in terms of needing to be really rigid in memorizing everything. I think that, for example, and I've taught before and I've had a lot of students who they have certain cards that they bring to me and they say, I just cannot memorize this card because every time I look at it, I don't think about this, I think about this. And it's usually a personal experience that they've had. They have some kind of a personal connection to the symbolism or the imagery in the card. And in that case, I say, allow yourself to create a personal relationship with the cards.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to have the textbook meaning as your foundation, as your bones, but to lay on top of that your own personal experience, right? So if you keep seeing the high priestess and it reminds you of your grandmother and that makes you feel a sense of love, then that's okay. Don't push that away. Like, don't try to work against your personal library of symbols. That is, in a huge way, what this is about. It's about connecting to your own intuition. So that's three things. Number four, I would say having a study buddy or an accountability buddy can be really wonderful. So finding a friend that also wants to learn. I had somebody like that, and we used to share resources. Yeah, and it makes it more fun, right? Because I think that's a huge part of it too. Like, don't have to take that everything so seriously. It can be fun. And find a deck that you really love and connect to. You don't have to be gifted the deck, in my personal opinion.
I agree. Yeah. That's where that came from. But but oh, no,
Right?
you have to have it gifted. No, you don't, because what if you don't like the
Uh,
deck? What if you don't connect to
right. Exactly. It's I don't know where it came from either, but those things spread like wildfire, and then they've
it?
kind of become this superstition that just is a barrier for people. So just don't worry about it. Get the deck that you like, get the deck that you connect to. You don't have to use the Rider-Waite-Smith. You can find a deck that you connect to, and you don't have to do it all by the book. So those are my 5 tips. I'm sure I have more, but
That's
a good
I
place to
think,
start.
yeah, I think that's perfect. And I do think I had a teacher, and I think it makes
Yeah.
life easier, because
Yeah.
otherwise I can remember I used to think that if I bought another tarot deck that it would
Right.
suddenly all click into place.
Right. Yeah.
And you look and you're like, how can you've got this big, big wad of cards. How can I learn these cards? But
Yeah.
bringing them into like my teacher brought them to life,
Yes.
about the suits and what the suits mean, the court cards, and then my study buddy. Um,
Yeah.
I always remember with her, I was struggling with the court cards because I made them personal, and that's
Yeah.
how they worked
Yeah.
in my reading. But like the Queen of Wands, I just could not get the Queen
Yeah.
of Wands, and I can't do it. But my friend, that click and she was like, girlfriend, you got to think she's the diva, the Beyonce
Right.
of the cards. And
Yes, she is.
yeah, so you remember then,
And
it's
that
just,
stuck with you, right? Yeah, you still carry that with you. Yeah, so it's so valuable to have friends and teachers to work with in that way. I think too, they kind of give you permission, like to see things differently, because sometimes we can get so stuck. Like,
yeah,
am I allowed to do this? Can I read it this way? Am I supposed to do this? So to have somebody say something like that, like, just see her as the diva, it's like, oh, okay,
yeah, and
yeah.
then and then it sticks.
Sticks. Yeah.
Are you teaching tarot?
I'm not right now. Right now, I'm taking a break from teaching and from doing private readings as well, but I'm thinking about getting back into these things, but I've also been saying that for a long time. So we'll see. There's part of me that wants to, and part of me that knows that it's not really the right time, probably because my Oracle deck is taking a lot of energy.
Yeah,
Um, but I do believe that I will get back around to it because I do love teaching a lot. I think what I love about it is, I've never really wanted to be in a position where I'm like a leader, like gurufying myself, but I do love showing people that they have the power to use these tools, right?
yeah,
I want people to not rely on me, really. I want to like pass this wisdom on
yeah.
and help people to trust themselves and to build this relationship with the tarot, and then have that for the rest of their lives. I think that's really cool.
It is, and it's empowering people.
Yes.
That's my thing in life. It's not
Mhm.
about you knowing everything, you being the teacher, but it's just
No,
allowing people to be themselves, see their
exactly.
skills, and then just helping them a little way if you can. And
Hmm.
it is, and I always, I can't remember who said it. You are your own guru. You
Oh,
are you. And I think I love that. When
I love that.
you're like, yeah, so we're all our own gurus anyway, all the time.
Yes.
We need
Yeah.
in here, isn't it? Or it's
Yes,
great here.
exactly.
Need
Well,
to
right.
we just need to get
We're
out of
all
our way.
connected. We're all connected to the same source. We all have the wisdom and the power within us.
We do. We do. Well, I think that's a really nice way to end our chat.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me. So I'm going to put all Nicky's details in the show notes below. So she's on Instagram, she's on TikTok, she sells her card decks on Etsy. And so I'll put all the links for that. Follow her because you'll honestly, her readings just really do stand out to you and speak to you. And also just have a flick back. Somebody told me about this a while ago. Just if you just flick back through somebody's feed and then just stop and then look at that card reading, and then that might be what you
I
need
love
to,
doing that.
yeah, that might be what you need to hear that day.
Mhm.
So Nicky, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really grateful. Sorry I got you up
Thanks for
early.
having me.
You're
No,
welcome.
no worries. I'm glad my brain kind of warmed up as we went along. I was worried there for a minute, like, am I awake enough? But thank you for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. All the details will be in the show notes, and I will speak to you very soon. Thank you for joining us. Bye.